Uh, Askitanga Namaskara. Jukku Sandosh the evening avi angela guest speaker series join karega. Saurashtra Association Tony, tunga Askinaki Avo Avomni, Mondugor, Miavi, Bowleresi. Ella guest speaker series in the young adult edition demo. Our my Amritani Mahesh Topia, then we present Karanjarata. Me Bhargavi Kutuva, me essay mavi project director kanseta. Prasiddhi Rupamayavi project coordinator kanseta. Ami Deetana Cherry, Tungaskinaki Avomani Bowleras. Welcome Amrita, welcome Mahesh to the evening. We are waiting for your wonderful session. In the V series on a short intro, Amrita Mai Patini, Mahesh Pati, Tehelata Ami, event Pista Changan. Amrita is a driven and inspiring young professional, proudly recognized as the first Canadian woman young adult to be featured in as a guest speaker in Essay Speaker Series. A warm welcome, Amrita. She, her father's word, she's a true go-getter. Amrita has shaped her career through dedicated research, deep passion for her field, strong technical knowledge, and, and an invaluable guidance by her parents. Welcome again. And Mahesh, if I want to talk about it, talk about him. Mahesh Topia is a young speaker from Texas. He holds a bachelor's degree in accounting, master's in management information system. Both are and are certified as a CPA and CIA and licensed in Texas. He has a extensive, strong career across a lot of organizations such as Viewers LLP, Southwest Airlines, Stream Energy, and Toyota, working as an internal audit, SOX, compliance, and enterprise risk management. Amrita's background, I'm sorry, I missed that one. Amrita holds a bachelor's degree in commerce with honors, while she also holds a graduate diploma from University of Ottawa while she is doing BCom, and she successfully finished a CFE and she's pursuing a CPA. She's currently working as a senior accountant in audit and assurance at KPGM. She also brings her experience working at Ernst& Young, Employment and Social Development of Canada within the federal government. Both have an extensive professionalism careers to talk about. And in the ASCII join kilratano, tumi juku illa session toni you can learn more and learn from their thing and get guidance. Now I ask Amrita to present her series. Welcome Amrita Mai, welcome Mahesh.
Hi everyone, Askithanko Namaskar. I'll be sharing my screen now. Just give me 1 second. All right. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Not yet.
Nope. Okay. Let me try again. All right.
Now I can see, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, sorry, I'll just move this over. All right. So thanks, Bhargavi, for that really nice and well put introduction. That was very heartfelt. So as Bhargavi said, my name is Amrita. I'll be speaking to you guys about a few topics today. So I'll start off with just going through a quick agenda. So I'll go over a bit about me, just some background about myself and some things that I'm into. Then I'll speak more about the CPA profession, mostly on the Canadian side, because that is my expertise, with a little bit of knowledge on the US side, so I can give some information there, but not a whole lot. Then I'll be talking about work-life study balance and sort of the things that I did that helped me. Following with some early financial learnings and things that I just wish I knew when I was a university student. And finally, taxes and students and how that can be helpful. So I'll start off with a bit about me. So I, as Bhargavi mentioned, have completed my bachelor's degree in accounting, in commerce with a specialization in accounting. And then I completed my graduate diploma in accounting, both at the University of Ottawa. Um, the reason that I initially chose the University of Ottawa was because of the French immersion program that they had. So if anyone has any questions about doing some of these courses in French, I can also provide more intel into that during the Q&A period. Moving on from that, I recently wrote the CP and was successful. Yay. So glad to never have to do that again. So I can speak a little bit more on that when I go through the CPA profession. For a career, I worked at EY for my two co-ops during school, and then I returned full-time as a staff accountant. And during my undergraduate program, I also worked at ESDC, or Employment and Social Development Canada, which is with the federal government. This was under a program called FSWEP. And so FSWEP is the Federal Student Work Exchange Program, which is available to all students across Canada. Um, the the time that I did this was during COVID, so there was a lot more remote positions that were available. Currently, there's a lot more in-person jobs with some remote positions available. So just keeping that in mind if you're thinking of looking into FSWEP. Currently, I work at KPMG as a senior auditor or a senior accountant in audit. I've been here for just over a year now, and am really liking it. And um, I can speak more on what I really actually do in audit later on as well. Some other extra things that I did during undergraduate, I worked at Second Cup, which if you're from the US, it's a cafe. It's a Canadian cafe, and it's pretty much just a job that I did almost all of undergraduate and during the graduate diploma. Not so much because I felt super dependent on it, but it was great to have as almost like a hobby, and it helped me socialize with people as well. Um, Kind of taking your mind off of the numbers or looking at a screen all day is really helpful. Um, and working at Second Cup was great. I definitely made a lot of friends, and I learned a lot more about coffee, which is something I love to learn about. And some extracurriculars that I did during school, I was the co-president of the Telford Accounting Club for 2 years, alongside one of my best friends. So if you're ever looking into going or joining a club at your school, I would highly recommend it. Um, the not like the reason I got my position at EY, I would definitely say is because I was part of clubs. And on top of that, just being able to build those relationships and making some of the best friends I still have is truly invaluable. On top of that, I did the Capital Markets Micro Program, which is a 2-year add-on program onto my accounting specialization, which was more focused on high finance. And what we mostly did for this course would be to build pitch decks and basically pitch it to basically the school, who would then sort of pick and choose what stocks we could and couldn't buy. And then finally, I did a few case competitions throughout the years with DECA and with JDC. And JDC is a, I guess, lesser known one, but it's Jeux de Commerce. So they have a lot of French competitions, but they do have quite a few English competitions as well. And you're able to compete in both languages, which is very interesting when you actually get into it because they have a lot of different types. So if you're interested in case competitions or thinking on the spot, I would totally recommend that. So that's a bit about me. I'll move on to the CPA pathway. So with the CPA pathway, I'll first start off with what are some benefits to holding this designation. So I'm on my way there. Currently, I have passed my CFE, but I still have to get my work reports approved. So almost there, but not there yet. Um, so some of the benefits that initially drew me to the CPA designation is one, that it's recognized globally. So having that as part of your resume or whatever is like very powerful when companies are looking to hire, especially because it does show the level of knowledge and sort of practical experience that comes with getting your CPA. On top of that, you do have strong earning potential and job security. Something I can speak to in terms of job security is that I know recently, even with the market downturn in terms of jobs, a lot of the people that I know in accounting, or whether that be my friends, my peers, or just people around me, have been able to find jobs in accounting, especially with the firms, because the firms are almost always hiring. At least this is from my experience. And if we uh, go a little further than just sort of the designation itself, there's a lot of transferable skills that I feel are included in the CPA designation. For example, uh, sort of critical thinking and problem solving, because a lot of the academic requirements for the CPA, at least in Canada, are based in case writing. You're sort of forced to think on the spot and apply your practically apply your technical knowledge, which is something that you can use in pretty much anywhere you end up working or any industry or career path you choose. So I kind of touched on this a little bit previously, but becoming a CPA requires the successful completion of the CFE and the successful completion of your 30 months of work requirements. So the CFE or the CPA pathway, which I'll go into more detail in the next slide, can be quite long, but you can definitely shorten it by doing co-ops or doing work and school at the same time if you choose CPA PEP or doing some more accelerated programs. But overall, this will take you about um, a little over 2 years or 2.5 years. So I'll jump into some typical job pathways. So I put audit first because I work in audit, so it's the easiest one for me to talk about. So for audit, what this basically means is that you're looking at the financial statements of the company and pretty much going line by line, number by number, and making sure that everything is right. And while this sounds face value pretty easy, there's a lot of hard work that goes behind it and a lot of cool and interesting things that you can learn about working with different companies. And a lot of firms will sort of give you a niche to work on, for example, like real estate or tech. But in smaller firms, such as the Ottawa firm or the Ottawa office that I work at, you're able to sort of touch on different types of files. So I work mainly on public files, but and real estate, but I'm also able to touch on some of like the hospital files and some more of the private files as well. So that is kind of a pro of working in a smaller office. So then with tax, there's two types. There's compliance and advisory. So compliance is like the ones that you would normally see with the different tax returns that a tax professional will have to complete. And the second is tax advisory, which is more so to deal with tax planning. And so making decisions now that will affect tax implications later down the line. And a big thing with that is also like working with mergers and acquisitions and seeing how to best consolidate firms or sort of understand the real accounting behind these decisions. And then moving on to industry, there are so many different positions that you can hold as a CPA or as an accountant, um, way more than the list that I have here. But working in industry can definitely give you a lot more insight into a specific company or a specific industry itself. Moving on to advisory, there's risk advisory, deals advisory, and forensic accounting that are mostly what the firms uh, those are the advisory types that the firms usually have. So these are different types of avenues where you'd be able to use your CPA to make decisions forward facing rather than backward facing, which is pretty interesting. And then, of course, entrepreneurship, having an accounting background or even knowing the way or the ins and outs of guidelines or anything that you have to do as a business owner is definitely important. And so that's just another way where having a CPA or having that kind of knowledge would be helpful. Um,
Awesome,
so I'll move
Amrita.
on.
Yeah, it's a very awesome. You have
Yeah.
put on a awesome slide about CPA. And just a quick question here.
Mhm.
Like, how do you think the French helped you in getting a job in government side, or is it like do you need to know that language to be in there? Like, is it good to have a dual language in CPA? Is it important?
So I would say when I did work in the government, when I was being hired, something that was asked was if I was bilingual. At the time, I wouldn't necessarily say I was fluent in both languages, but even having an intermediate knowledge of French,
Mhm.
and practical knowledge of French was helpful in me getting the job, I will say. But in the job itself, I didn't use French that much, if I'm being very honest. There are more opportunities, I would say, for bilingual people because for example, like there are a lot of documents or a lot of times where you're having to speak with someone that is French. So being bilingual or having any practical French experience is definitely helpful, I would say.
Awesome. And also, people here in Canada choose French immersion, and that helped you as well through you, as you said. And we'll see about the US side when Mahesh talks. Thanks, please go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll just hop back into the CPA roadmap. And of course, like as any questions come up, feel free to interrupt me. That's all good. So this is sort of pretty much like what I was talking about, where you can do your undergraduate in accounting, or you can do CPA prep, which is a bunch of prerequisites that you need to go into the CPA PEP program. And the PEP program is basically just core modules, elective modules, and capstone modules that you need to complete before you can do this common final examination. And so I did a graduate diploma, and what that does is do core one up until elective two in 4 months. And so that was the reason I chose this, was that one, it was a bit of an accelerated program, and two, I'm not the best at going to work and then doing schoolwork after. So I needed that time for myself and being a little bit more disciplined by doing it with a university. And the final avenue is through a master's program. And so a lot of these will take you from core one all the way up until capstone two. It's just a bit more of an elongated process where you do 4 months of school, you do a co-op in the middle for a busy season, and then you return back to school to complete the remainder of the 4 months. And so some people have found this very helpful. Some people have not found this as helpful. So it really depends on how you learn best. Then you kind of reach the common final examination that everybody writes. In Canada, actually, I'll touch on this in a couple slides, but once you've complete, that's pretty much the end of your academic requirements. And so then you have your work requirements, which you can do concurrently while you're doing all this academic stuff, but you need to have a minimum of 30 months with a maximum of 12 months, or a maximum of 18 months before you start CPA PEP and a minimum of 12 months after. So keeping that in mind of when you start your PEP, because sometimes your co-ops won't be counted. And finally, you can apply for your CPA membership once you've met the academic and work requirements. So this is another roadmap because CPA Ontario is sort of overhauling their sort of procedure by 2028. So I just put this on here. I don't have a lot of knowledge on this, but I put this on here in case someone is looking to do that later in after 2028. And I also have some links at the end of the presentation to give more information on that. So here, I try to incorporate some more of the Canadian versus US CPA. So the way the Canadian CPA is set up is that it's 3 exams and it's in 3 days, and it's mostly case-based. Whereas from what I'm aware of, the US CPA is mostly multiple choice questions with some simulations. So, and those exams are not back to back, and you can do those separately. The actual core, I guess, areas all focus under performance management, finance, audit, and financial reporting. In the Canadian CPA one, you also have strategy and governance, but I think that falls under performance management for US. So this is just sort of a quick summary of the difference between the two and kind of where you need to focus more for each one. But I will say, there isn't anything that's better than the other. At the end of the day, you're still getting your CPA. Um, yeah, so I'll move on to work-life study balance. So here, my main thing that I would want to say here is that balance is you're never going to be balanced in a day or in a week. it's about intentional trade-offs and prioritizing what you can do that week. And it's not about finding the perfect balance of everything. So as I mentioned, I just sort of put a recap here. Uh, in my during my undergraduate program, I had two jobs, and I did my co-ops at UI. I did clubs, a lot of clubs, and I was also part of the capital markets micro program. So I kind of had a lot going on, especially especially wanting to have like a social life and things like that. It was hard to balance for sure, but things that actually helped me was first of all, time blocking, even scheduling the small things. Like for me, scheduling time just to do my chores or something. That was something that really helped me because eventually things pile up and you're not able to have your mind as focused as you want it to be because you're thinking about all these different things. But if you have this time sort of blocked off for that later in the later in the week or later in the month, then you're at least aware that you have scheduled time for that for yourself. Another thing is reminding yourself of your motivators. And by this, I mean more so big picture. For example, like obviously sometimes when you're studying for an exam, it's like, why am I even doing this? What is this class even? And so kind of taking a step back and being like, okay, this class is going to help me um, get my undergraduate. This course I'm doing right now is going to help me get my CFE, things like that, and just kind of really taking a step back and seeing what do you really want at the end of the day is really helpful, or at least it was for me. Um, Next would be prioritizing your mental health because you can reach burnout really quickly, and sometimes burnout isn't super obvious. Um, like sort of just getting tired randomly in the day and not being able to focus on anything and not being able to sort of get yourself to really do anything um, is going to set you back way more than you blocking off time during your day to take those breaks. So for me, during this busy season, I've been trying to take real breaks almost every day for about 2 hours in my evening where I go to yoga, I take my walk there, I take my walk back. So it's like I've blocked off time for myself. Um, that's not related to kind of the more everyday things that I do. And the fourth one would be learning to say no. And I wrote that this is the hard one because it's kind of hard when, if you have like your like a partner is coming to you and asking you for something, you're most likely going to say yes. Um, but for example, during my undergrad, um, I was working at Second Cup, I was working at ESDC, I was the co-president of TAC, and I I was I was doing capital markets and I was doing all of those things concurrently. And I was asked to be part of the accounting team for, or no, the finance team for JDC. And while I very obviously should have said no because I didn't have the time, I said yes, and that caused so much more difficulties in my own scheduling. So learning to say no when you're at your max and you can't push anymore, or even nearing your max, is definitely helpful because it's important to prioritize yourself. And finally, I would say to make study fun. So studying inherently is not the most fun thing to do. And so for me, something that really helped was I would study all the time at like cafes, or go to more social areas because me, I like to kind of like people watch and it's nice to do that while I'm studying as like a quick break or kind of treating myself to a coffee when I don't feel great about myself is always really nice because the little pick me up. I know a lot of people don't do this, but I like to listen to music when I study because it's an important thing for me to stay motivated and energized, and that's a really great way for me to stay energized. Um, and those are sort of some tips that actually helped me, but can definitely go into more detail later on as well. So for co-op and work, something I realized was if you focus on building skills in your down periods, it'll help you later down the road. Like, for example, if I was unaware of how to do something job related, I would be able to talk to different staff or seniors if they also have downtime to kind of understand how to get through things. So, and later when that task does eventually get to you, you're able to take it on without kind of taking extra time to learn and then do it. And that takes up more time than in a busy period rather than time during a down period. And another thing would be to ask for help early. And this doesn't just apply to co-op and work. Talking to academic advisors or talking to your professor about deadlines, asking for that help earlier on. One, it's more likely that they'll help you, and two, it's more likely that you'll be able to get the actual help that you are looking for, whether that be an extension, whether that be another staff being added onto the file because the work is just too much for one person. Asking for that early is very helpful. And I've also written use your co-op strategically here. And the reason for that is more so because your co-op is meant to help you explore different work. It's not meant to just sort of give you a job. So using that co-op to learn and figure out what you actually like versus what you don't like, what are some skills that you could learn that might be more transferable to a position that you want to be in. Um, those are great ways where you can use your co-op, even if you don't specifically like your position that you're at right now.
See, Amrita, I chose the right person for this. See, you have given a breakdown of work-life balance. It's going to match for all the professions, not just yours. And you have
Hmm.
given it for perfectly for CPA. Learning to say no. Oh my God, I learned this very, very, very late in the industry. That's a big thing. And
Right.
focus, ask for help. That's
Hmm.
another main thing. Awesome, Amrita, please go.
Yeah. No, those
Next.
are definitely harder ones to sort of implement, just because it is scary to sort of ask, but it's like you're going to be stuck in this position where you're overworked or you're pushed to the limit and it's just not worth it.
Yeah, I have a quick question here, like a
Yeah.
small thing. Did you ever feel insecure or just felt that, oh, I didn't know this. How do I approach like this work?
Yeah.
Somebody gave you a task and say that you cannot, you don't know that, but you said, yes, I will do
Yeah,
it. So do you ever feel insecure or how do you handle that?
for
While
sure.
handling, like you have to get your CPA for the 30, months time.
Yeah.
Somebody has to sign this. Did you
Yeah.
ever overthink? How do you overcome that?
Um, so one thing I will say is actually, yeah, I'll say yes. First of all, I definitely have felt insecure, like scared to ask a question, for sure. Even after taking on a task. I think what matters is that even if you said, yes, I can do it, and then turns around and says, okay, wait, actually, I don't know how to do this. If you're kind of spinning your wheels, sitting there trying to figure out what's going on, it's honestly going to end up being worse for the person that assigned you the task to begin with. So it's honestly easier for you to just ask a question, even if you had already said yes, because you can always kind of explain it in the way that, I thought I knew how to do this and I know how to do XYZ, but I'm stuck at this point, or sort of kind of pinpoint where you're going wrong or where you're kind of stuck. I think that has helped me get some more support. And honestly, like a lot of workplaces can not be as supportive, but thankfully I've had some more supportive workspaces where I've always been able to access help, whether that be from other staff or from seniors. But definitely taking that first jump and asking is definitely scary, but I would always recommend doing that over sort of sitting there and spinning your wheels, especially when it's something you definitely just don't know how to do.
Yeah,
And
very
in terms,
true.
yeah, and in terms of being sort of insecure, um, like I think definitely being um sort of like a woman of color in a space that's mostly white men or even just not people of color in general, it can be daunting to sort of speak up and like feel like you're on the same level as everyone, because I will say, like, if everyone is sort of talking big about themselves and you're kind of minimizing yourself on the inside, it's
Yeah.
gonna
It says
end
an
up
Asian
showing.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's gonna end up showing up. So definitely like kind of getting yourself out of that mindset and kind of focusing on, no, I can do this. I deserve to
Yeah.
be in this room just as much as everyone else, then it
That's why you
definitely
need your
can.
motivators. Like, go,
Yeah.
Amrita, go. Yeah, listen to them.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move on. Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
sounds good. So I'll talk about next some early financial learning. So this is more so for the university students on this call. So First things first, I'll talk about some helpful habits that I wish I did earlier. So, building a budget and setting goals and doing this optimistically is really easy to do. And that's where a lot of people sort of fall by making them a little too optimistic. So, something that I wish that I did early was tracking my expenses because it's so easy to sort of build a budget and be like, I can save so much money this year. It's going to be great. And then tracking my expenses, and I'm like, okay, well, I spend way more on grocery than I thought. I go out with my friends more than I thought. So kind of tracking all of that is more helpful to seeing where you can rein it in if that's what you're looking to do, or where you can sort of have extra pockets of cash that you could put towards your savings or towards your investment accounts. So that kind of moves me into saving and investing early. It's definitely easier to just create a savings account and throw whatever you don't need in checkings account in there. But investing early is something that I wish I did, especially given that I was in university during COVID. I definitely wish I invested more during that time, but it's okay.
It's all
So
good. See?
it's okay. The life moves on. Um, but that's definitely something that I wish that I did earlier on. And there's never going to be like the best time to learn about investing. Like I will say the best time is now. So
Mhm.
if you're able to just learn more about sort of what kind of investor you are you more risk adverse? Can you take on more riskier stuff? What kind of um, things would you be looking at, whether it be bonds, ETFs, mutual funds, or stocks? Kind of learning that about yourself is very helpful. And you can do this directly through your bank. And the reason I put this on here was that there are different fees and different structures that you need to be aware of. So, for example, I used to invest directly through my bank, and there was a $10 transfer fee and for any transaction that I would have done. And so this definitely helped me with a more long-term point of view. So then I didn't want to be charged that $10. So I was trying to make long-term decisions. But I switched to Wealthsimple just because I wanted a little more flexibility and using some of their self-directed portfolios, which do come with their own fees, was helpful for me. But definitely learning who you are as an investor and then sort of picking and choosing as you go along and doing all of that research is always worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
So
have a
here's
quick
kind of a
question here,
summary.
Amrita.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry for
Mhm.
butting in.
Yeah.
And so you said that you have to open a bank account. It's good for the college students, any college students.
Mhm.
And being a accounting student, how do you see it helpful? Like you see the different types of accounts, there is benefits. How do you learn that? Like,
Mhm.
did it
So
help in the studies anyway?
yeah. I mean, I don't know how much it would have helped in I think my studies definitely helped me learn more about investing just because when you learn accounting, you're definitely learning about kind of what goes on a balance sheet and income statement cash flow. What are some metrics that you want to look at to see if a company is financially healthy? What are some metrics that can help you track for example, like their earnings versus their expenses, and then see so you're able to get a better insight on what you should be looking for is what I'll say. So you know kind of what can pinpoint you um, to make the better decisions rather than sort of Googling like best investments of 2026, which I
Yeah.
would not recommend doing. But definitely like being able to apply your accounting knowledge in terms of what to track and what to look for is definitely a helpful. I think one thing, not so much technical based, but more soft skill based would be um, like critical thinking as well as sort of finding information. A lot of times, especially in audit, you're looking for specific information and you know you have to sort of figure out where to find it from. So being resourceful is something that definitely comes from accounting as well. And so yeah, I would say it helped in those ways for me.
That's nice, nice. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Sure. So I've created just a summary of like some different accounts that you can open, and this is definitely just for Canadians. I'm not sure what the US side looks like. So obviously you have your checkings and your savings, which are a little more um, face value, you kind of know what that goes. For TFSA, um, it's not tax deductible, so you'll still have to include that on your income tax. However, it does have tax-free growth and tax-free withdrawals, but it does have specific limits, and this changes annually. The FHSA, which is your first home buyer savings account, um, these are tax deductible. It has tax-free growth and tax-free withdrawals, and by qualifying, it just means it has to be for a first home if that's what you're purchasing. And that again also has a limit of 8,000 a year with a 40,000 lifetime. That doesn't change yearly. That is just the limit.
Mhm.
And finally, there is the RRSP, or the Registered Retirement Savings Program. So this is tax deductible, but it does not have tax-free growth or tax-free withdrawals. Basically, what I mean by deferred is that your growth is not taxable until you actually make that withdrawal. And why this is still helpful is because your tax rate will be significantly lower once you have retired. So being able to withdraw it at a much lower tax rate is helpful still. But this one is based on your earned income from your previous year. So it's calculated on a yearly basis depending on your earned income up to a max that's there.
Awesome.
Um, yeah. So then I'll move on to taxes and how it can be helpful for students to file their taxes. So starting off with some common applicable tax slips for students, probably the most common would be the T2202, which is for your university. All of your universities will fill this out for you and send those to you, um, which you just have to submit. Then you have your T4, which is for employment income, which all of your employers should be providing you with, and your T5, which is investment income if you do have any in that year, which I didn't for a lot for my undergraduate. So why filing matters, even if you don't owe taxes, because a lot of students really don't owe taxes. But for one, you have tax deductions. So something that could be used against your earned income if you did have would be moving expenses if you had moved 40 kilometers or more. And a lot of university students do move away from home to their universities. So they could be eligible to get a tax deduction for their moving expenses. Another reason would be for credits. So your tuition amount, the entire amount can be used as a credit, or 15% of it can be used as a credit to your taxable or taxes payable, which is definitely helpful if you do owe taxes because it will net to zero, but it can't really create a loss. So in this situation, if you do have leftover tuition amount that you're not able to use in any given year, you can transfer up to 5,000 to one of your parents who can then use that against their income, which could be helpful there too. But you do have to use as much of it for yourself as possible. And finally, you can also use that in future years. So if you don't transfer that, or if you don't use it all up, then you can definitely use it in future years as well. Another reason would be to create that RSP room. So as I mentioned, that one is based on your earned income. And so if you're kind of creating that room early on, then you could be, even if you're not kind of what's the word, investing or putting money into your RSP at that year, it would be helpful in future years since that balance is carry forward. It can be carry forwarded until you actually use it up. And then finally, you'd be eligible for the GST HST credit, which is available to all Canadians. And so, but all Canadians that file their taxes. So if you want to get that credit, then it's definitely useful to file your taxes. And I think that's all I have. If there's any questions, additional to the ones that I sort of spoke to, I'm happy to answer.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Amrita. You gave a lot of information which is useful for students and also for whoever wants to be in CPA in Canada. You
Mhm.
did talked about work-life balance, mental health issues. You did touched on how to do start a savings account, and you did talked about the taxes at the end. Awesome. Thanks, Amrita. We'll wait for the your Q&A session at the end. Let's hand over the session to Mahesh.
Okay.
Mahesh, welcome. Mahesh avi
Thank
atavi
you.
or sorry for interrupting. Mahesh tinovi US side atavi aski vatakarano. Tungo kona question riamlo chatum type kilwo pusuluwo. Ita session avi recorded session ami avi tungo askinaki participants aski members ku kon register ke liye askinaki ela recorded video ami thadwe. Thabbamlo tumi questions hodesna ami Amrita major pass kerve tele mari Mahesh no pass kerve. Thank you very much, Amrita. Again, welcome, Mahesh. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Auntie. And namaskar, everyone. Manawi Mahesh. And I've been brought in to talk about a few topics. And as you can see on the slide, I'm a licensed CPA and a CIA. And sorry to disappoint, CIA is Certified Internal Auditor, not Central Intelligence Agency, but just as exciting though.
Nowadays,
So
everybody is
just
scared. Anything CIA,
uh,
I am scared.
yeah. Just a few topics that I wanted to talk about. The first one is how to become a certified public accountant or CPA. The second one is basically taxes 101. When do I file my taxes, right? And kind of like, giving a brief overview on that. Then go through and talk about my career path, what I studied, and how I got to where I am now. And the last slide is going to be tied to what exactly am I doing now? And as you can see, my career path, being a CPA, CIA to compliance, and I'll kind of like walk you through that progression and that transition from one career field to another, but definitely the skill set translates across. So for my first topic on how to become a CPA, the first, at least on the US side, definitely getting your bachelor's and graduate's degree. And so you need a total of 150 semester hours, which does include 30 hours of accounting coursework and 24 hours of business. And once you get that, you also need to complete your 3 semester hour accounting ethics course before you take your CPA exam. So when I took my CPA exam, the structure has changed since. So there are 4 parts to the CPA exam. One is audit. The next one is financial accounting and reporting. Third one is taxation regulation. Right now, they changed it so that the fourth part is you get to choose from one of the 3 options. They are business analysis and reporting, information systems, or tax compliance and planning. So when I took it, would be C, business economics and communication, right? So it's like a had all kind of a exam, but they basically broke this into 3 different exams where you can choose from one of those 3 as for your fourth CPA exam. So once you pass your CPA exam, you do need to pass your ethics exam, which is definitely not as hard as CPA exam. So once you pass your ethics exam, you do need 1 year of work experience. You need to be supervised and work under a licensed CPA, and they need to certify that, yep, you have worked under a CPA prior to you getting your work credit. So at the bottom, I did put that each state is going to have its own requirement. So depending on what state you're in, it could change, a little bit, but overall, this is going to be the structure for US.
Awesome.
So moving on to a little bit about taxes. Um, so I kind of put, a couple important dates up there. April 15th is the deadline to file your taxes and pay your taxes. October 15th is the final deadline if you have filed an extension. So October 15th basically means that, hey, I need more time to gather paperwork. Maybe, what I'm doing is a little bit more complex, but you do need to pay your taxes before April 15th or by April 15th. The extension basically means that you just need some more time to gather your paperwork and to file by October 15th. So a basic question that CPAs always get asked is, when do I actually file taxes? Do I need to file taxes, right? So there's a long answer and short answer. Long answer is if you have an income of at least 15,750, you're single, under 65, um, then you should. Or if you are self-employed, right, and earn $400 or more, and by self-employment, it could be, gig work, lemonade stand, you're lawn mowing for other people, and you're earning cash, then that's going to count towards that. Um, or if your federal income tax withheld is there, and you do need to file your taxes for that, so you can get some sort of a refund. So again, that's the long answer. The short answer is basically if you earn income, file your taxes. That's it. It's as simple as that. Because you want to ensure that even if you don't meet certain thresholds, you're still filing taxes. It's always best practices, just so that you can start getting used to filing taxes if you earn income and start learning that process, different credits and exemptions and how to go about doing that. And initially, when you're a student, you're not gonna have too much to show, but as you start start your career, once you have a house, selling, stocks, or, cryptocurrencies, all of that, then things start getting more complex. So again, it's always good to start sooner than later. But again, short answer, you earn income, file your taxes.
Oh, awesome. I just
And
have a quick question
yeah,
here, Mahesh.
yes.
So you said about cryptocurrency that consider investment as well. I heard a lot of students now are investing in cryptocurrencies. So if they do have an investment, they are need to file taxes too, even though they are not working.
Yeah. So as long as you are earning, then you do need to file by earning. It's not just via, self-employment or with your W-2,
Mm-hmm.
but if you have in a, crypto stocks, right, mutual funds, ETFs, right? You do get dividends; those are considered as income, right? So, and that's the reason that. If you have an investment account, you get dividends even though you select auto invest, meaning, once you get your dividends the very next day, it gets reinvested. That does count towards your, income. You do need to show that as part of your tax return, even though you're reinvesting automatically, you're still benefiting from that. So again, any sort of monetary benefit you
Mm-hmm.
need to show. So cryptocurrencies fall under the exact same standards.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. And at the bottom of the slide, full disclosure, I'm not a tax professional, so this is not tax advice. If you need some, tax help, please definitely seek a tax professional. So the next slide, I want to take everyone through my, career path where I studied, and where I'm working right now. So I got my bachelor's in accounting from Texas A&M, and I also got my master's in management information systems from Texas A&M. And the reason why I chose Texas A&M is because it offers a 5-year dual program. So I got my bachelor's and master's in 5 years. So again, that helps because again, you're getting both of your degrees, saving costs, and you're starting to work sooner. So that's always very helpful, and it's definitely paid dividends for me because again, I get to work sooner and start basically getting exposure to different things, right? So once I graduated from Texas A&M with my degrees, I got both my CPA and CIA designations, and I started my work experience. The first position is at a consulting or a public accounting firm called Weaver. It's a regional firm. It's exactly like your Big Four, EY, KPMG, Deloitte, and Price Waterhouse, right? So you're basically going to different client sites, and depending on your engagement, you're basically providing those services. So for me, I specialized in financial institutions compliance. So what that basically means is that my clients are all, financial institutions. So banks, trust companies, investment companies, insurance companies. So because of that, I've developed a passion for the financial side. So I stayed with consulting for 2.5 years or so before I changed to Southwest Airlines. So I was at Southwest for a few years, and at Southwest. I was part of the internal audit team, and more specifically, I was doing operational audit. Um, and this is exactly as it sounds. You're basically auditing the operations of the company. So, for example, one of the audits that I worked on was ground operations, which is basically going to different airports to auditing their processes and ensuring that they are staying in compliance with internal policies and regulations, right? And this audit was, one of my favorite audits is because a component of the audit was inventory, which basically means that you need to check if certain assets are existing, right? So as you can imagine, for airlines, we actually had to go onto the tarmac of the airport and make sure that there are different vehicles that are existing, right? So basically, baggage loaders, tugs, and fuel trucks, right? So we got to chase those different vehicles down to make sure that it has the right number on the back of the vehicle, right? So again, that's part of your existence assertion, just to make sure that um, on book it said you have 120 vehicles at this airport. Do those 120 actually exist, or are they misclassified? Are they stolen? Or is the company lying, right? So again, that's the reason behind that audit. Again, very fun. And after Southwest, again, I transitioned to a company called Stream Energy, where I was brought in to basically get them ready for to go public, right? So anytime a company wishes to go public, they need to be SOX ready, SOX compliant, right? So they brought me on board to, basically ensure that they have, control environments in place. They are ready for going public. So again, I stayed there for close to a year, not too long before I transitioned to where I am now, which is Toyota. So I've been at Toyota for the past 7 years, 8 years. So I started off in the Sarbanes-Oxley or SOX compliance team. Um, SOX compliance basically means that you're ensuring that your financials are accurate, right? At the end of the day, your CFO, CEO have to sign off on your financials. So that's what we are basically doing as part of compliance, making sure that not only are they signing, but everything that goes into financial reporting, all of that is accurate. Testing internal controls, working with our external audit team to make sure that everything is successfully signed and closed off for the fiscal year. So I was in the SOX compliance team for a couple of years before I transitioned to enterprise compliance. So enterprise compliance is a little different than SOX compliance or financial compliance, because enterprise compliance deals with regulatory compliance. So basically your operational compliance. So for example, at Toyota, I'm on the financial institution side. So basically, not the manufacturing side, but if you go into a dealer, you're looking for a loan or a lease, then we basically come in from a compliance perspective to make sure that Toyota is applying all applicable regulations, whether it's federal regulations or state regulations. So the next slide basically shows you what I'm doing now. I'm specializing in OFAC compliance and fair lending compliance. So for OFAC compliance, what it's basically doing is it's ensuring that Toyota is not transacting with a sanctioned party. So what I mean by that is if you turn on the news, you'll hear sanctions this, sanctions, right? So we want to ensure that um, U.S. companies or U.S. persons are not transacting with a sanctioned party. So, for example, I can almost guarantee you Vladimir Putin is on a sanction list, right? So, we should not be transacting, doing business with Vladimir Putin. So similar to that, there's a number of sanction lists out there. Whether it's OPEC sanction list, you have the EU sanction list, UK sanction list, Australia. So again, we screen our records and portfolios through the sanction list and make sure that we do not transact with those bad actors. So that's the OFAC side. On the fair lending compliance side, um, this is to ensure that lenders do not discriminate against anybody based on race, color, religion, national origin, sex, and a few other categories, right? So what that basically means that, if I, as an Indian, were to go into a dealership to, you know, um, buy a Toyota Camry and I need to get a loan, right? The interest rate that I should be getting should be the same interest rate as John Smith, who's a white American, goes to exact same dealership, exact same financial background, right? John Smith should be getting the exact same interest rate too, right? Uh, but obviously that's not always the case, and that's where we have these regulations where we need to ensure that our dealers are um, understanding them and they're not discriminating based on these protected classes, right? So this is where the regulatory guidance comes in for fair lending. At least for Toyota, it's our primary regulator is CFPB, or Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. On the OFAC side, it is governed by Department of Treasury. So that's why anytime you see sanctions, it's usually coming from Department of Treasury side. So um, as you can see, and let me just go back, one slide.
Yeah.
So as you can see, I started off with getting my, CPA, CIA designations, was in, public accounting, and again, the reason why I chose accounting is because accounting is the backbone of any company, right? You get to see these financials of how your company is doing. Is it healthy? What are you doing? And um, if you're listening to earnings calls for either Meta, Apple, some of these big companies, right? They do certain things where it sounds positive, but there is things going on in the back end behind why they're doing something, right? That also helps with certain stock purchases where because they do something, your EPS goes down, the stock price goes down, but if you actually know the financial side behind it, it's not that big of a deal. So again, it certainly helps. And the reason why I chose MIS as my master's is because not only do you need to know your financials or accounting aspect, but you also need to know how your financials go from one system to another, right? How one system talks to another. How are they, integrated? And how are they integrated? How can you get comfort on these systems, right? So again, that's the reason I chose both accounting and MIS because they go hand in hand together. But starting off on the, accounting side, getting my, CPA and slowly step by step going through, internal audit, now SOX compliance, now operational regulatory compliance, right? So all of these skill set overlap each other, right? And that's how I was able to go from one side to the other. I'm still using my, an audit skill set. I'm still, at times using my accounting skill set, but again, your skill set progressively gets, better and better, and you get to basically choose your career path based on what skill set you have. But
Awesome, awesome,
that's
Mahesh.
it from my side.
Yeah, just a quick question, Mahesh. So you said that you did CPA. When CPA, think that's a layman question, okay? CPA angama skin auditor hoyirta. So you're going to be your own boss. So you moved into a firm, like let's say you went into compliance. Is that the change happened while you're studying? Like you think that, okay, I should be more in compliance. Uh, this is where I like to work, or it just went with the work, your jobs you chose, like the jobs make you to choose this line. How did it happen?
So when you get your CPA, and again, anytime that you think of CPA, you always think of tax. It has to be a tax. No, that's not the case, right? So a CPA can either be a tax professional, audit professional, accounting professional,
Mhm.
or be using their CPA for actual reporting aspects, or just finance, right? So for me, I got to the compliance space, over time. It wasn't when I was studying my CPA. It wasn't when I was in public accounting.
Mhm.
Uh, Over time, after a few years, you start realizing, hey, I'm more interested in this. How do I get there, right? So it definitely does not happen overnight, but it's slowly, gradually, um,
You
you start
learn.
understanding, hey, I have this background, I have this skill set, maybe get there, and I'm interested in there, but how do I get there, right? So again, it's not going to be an easy transition, because it's hard to go from let's say accounting to compliance, right? You need to sites to get there, as long as you have passion. But again, for me, compliance is passion, and I was able to leverage,
Can see the
past
like
experience and
your
skills to get
company's
there.
finance. You're able
Yep,
to do
exactly.
internal, people can see that you're auditing your checks and
Yeah.
stuffs in the website. Awesome. Thank you. And students who are trying to study CPA and CA, like CPA, they can also have all these doors open for them. Like there are a lot more gateways to go in. So it will be really helpful. Please go ahead.
Yes. So that was everything from my side. But yeah, if anyone has any questions that I can answer, please feel free.
So thank you, Magesh. Thank you very much for this informative session. And thank you, Amrita. Awesome questions. Sorry, awesome session. Kung led at the questions for this same nati tumi pusuluwai. Ditanumlo choko explain kerrasi, ditanumlo finish kerrasi. Tumu kaiti questions seki. Gokila ji, tumi sangas want a question certainly. Kaiti, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. I just want to know all this discussion was does it apply only to Canada or since Amrita Mai is from Canada, I just
Yeah,
had
yeah.
that question. Otherwise, yeah, I'm good. Thank you. And it was a
Okay,
very
no issue.
wonderful discussion. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I'm a
both
very
sides.
layman on the accounting side, but it is an eye opener for me. Thank you.
No issues. Okay, Gnanasekharan Vaipusarasi, taxation fund on transfer from India to US, Canada, or vice versa. Taxation on fund transfers. Is there a taxation on fund transfers from India to US or Canada, vice versa? Like if you transfer fund from India to US, is there a taxation on it, and who should file?
Yeah. So he really needs to talk to the professional on that, because it really depends on, you know.
Mahesh, your voice is cutting off. Sorry.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes, yes.
Yep. So I was just saying that he needs to talk to a tax
Can you come forward?
fund.
Yeah, this is better, I guess. Sorry, it's
Oh,
cutting
it's
off a
better.
little
Okay.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because it depends on a number of factors. Um, the source of the funds, right? If they're selling a house in India, getting the funds over here, right? So the taxation is going to be different for that versus just a bank transfer, right? And not only that, the amount being transferred could have implications on that. But I'll probably suggest him to talk to a tax professional.
So he has to talk to an international tax professional, right?
Yes, exactly. Yep.
That is Mahesh Shangarta on international tax professional. Jo, tumi consult ke liye asna tala easy kar hai ni. Hope this helps. Amritamai, do you have any answers for this? So he asked. So I just want to bring this. I think the was one son is in Canada and daughter is in US. So that's the question came from for both sides. So yeah.
Got it. I will say I'm not a tax expert, so I wouldn't have like any specific advice here or any sort of insight here. But I agree, like definitely consulting with a tax specialist and with for your specific situation would be helpful.
Okay, okay. Uh, the limitations, amount limitations, taxation ಸೇತನು ಕೆರ ಇದ್ದದ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನಲ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕೇರತನು ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕೇರತನು ತೆನು ಸಂಗಂತಲ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಕಾಯ ಮೆನತ ಏನು ದೀತನು ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಎಮೋ ಸೆತೆನು ಅಮೃತಮಯ ಆಡಿಟಿಂಗ್ ಸ ಮಹೇಶ್ ಅವಿ ಕಂಪ್ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಸೆತ but tax professionals can brief you very much on this one. Next question. Anybody? Thank you. Tungupilanata Janamanamlo, like yeah, Amrit, I also want to ask you. So you have like you're doing an audit right now. You're also doing CPA. So are you planning to do what to say, like become an auditor, like an individual entrepreneurship auditor, or helping out, or you want to go in different fields, like Mahesh?
So I will say I think there's a lot of opportunities that can come from audit.
Mhm.
So I would be looking to kind of expand to different areas. Something that did interest me would be the advisory side and looking into forensic accounting and financial crimes, because that's something that's always sort of interested me. In terms of starting my own business and with audit, that's not something I'm currently looking at. It could be something that I might be open to later on.
Mhm.
It just becomes a little more difficult. Like I would say with tax, it's more applicable to everybody, but with audit, it's a little more niche. So
Mhm.
it's more so for like companies and firms. So um, not
Awesome.
entirely sure.
Okay, no issues there. So we have another questions. How are you both using AI on a day-to-day work? Is AI going to take you? This is for both of people, both of you. Is there AI involvement in accounting, compliance? Is there technical development there?
Yeah, we're starting to use. We recently started using, bots, right? So via RPA,
Mhm.
but we're trying to see how we can leverage AI. And the reason why AI becomes a sensitive topic when it comes to compliance is because we work with a number of PII, right? So very confidential data. And as everyone knows, we should not be,
Putting out it.
giving confidential PII data to AI, right? So that's the reason that it becomes at least a little more challenging in my space with compliance because we are using customer data, right? But in some of the other spaces, or at least at a um, you know director or CEO level kind of a thing, they've been leveraging AI in terms of looking at trends and patterns, or just breaking down numbers, because again, at their level, they're not looking at customer data, they're looking at basically, these trends and patterns, right? So um, with the existing data, if you're feeding that to AI, they are able to see, okay, you know what, as far as cars goes, okay, we have, Highlander selling a lot more than Camry for this segment and stuff like that. So again, it's been very useful for them, but for us, we haven't had the use case yet, but we're trying to see how we can leverage AI. But that's definitely been the topic, um, just trying to see how we can leverage AI this, AI that, right? But again, we need to be careful, at least from a compliance perspective, not to quickly take those steps, and see what the true use cases are, that has a healthy outcome.
Awesome, awesome answer. So AI is not going to take over compliance for a while now.
Not yet,
Okay.
yes.
Amrita, your company is using AI in any ways?
Yeah, so for our audit work, we use AI or we leverage AI to sort of identify high-risk areas or high-risk transactions, which would require a little bit more focus on and sort of picking those up specifically for testing, for audit testing. So that's one area that we use AI for. Also just for interpreting certain guidelines or even like using it for interpreting, for example, like the CPA handbook. It's very helpful for kind of finding areas that are finding specific sections that are applicable to your situation. But it hasn't been, I'll say, widely used in the audit. It's more so for doing that initial kind of
It's
work and
initial
then,
screening, right?
yeah, exactly. Just
AI
like
is
to
not going to
identify
take
those
over
areas.
auditing.
Not yet. I did see there was two I think Deloitte issues that they had with their big
Yeah.
AI scandal there. So not just yet.
No, so guys, don't worry, AI is not going to take over for a while at least. Yeah. Uh, uh, Murlida has asked, I think this question is for Mahesh. So you talked about the field auditing, right? Is it he asked, is it whether inventory count or is it just do a auditing go into this? That's what I mean, I guess.
Yeah, so that's more of a inventory count, and that was part of the audit. That wasn't the entire audit. So the entire audit was more focused on compliance with our internal policies and procedures. And one of the component of the audit was inventory count, where we had to go to different airports to ensure certain vehicles, certain plane parts were there. So at every airport there are hangars which basically house plane parts. So we got to go in and say, hey, my paper, there should be um, two of these wheels or two wings, and again you can't miss
Yeah,
seeing
sure.
wings, right? So again, making sure that they are there, and again, that all rolls up under the inventory or the existence aspect, which basically means that if we are uh, showing on our balance sheet, or if you're reporting that to our investors, saying, hey, here are our assets, here are the dollar amounts. We want to make sure that those assets are actually existing and they're actually there.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, and it's almost closing time. Thanks, guys. You both did an amazing job. Thank you very much. And yes, Mr. Amor said, good to know you are in SOX finance side. I'm currently working in SOX IT controls.
Okay, good
See,
to
that
know.
is a side to know. And other person, again, Jnanasekhar said that AI can do only repetitive tasks, not interact with the real situations. That's very true again. And I appreciate your participations. Oh, there is a hand raise. Please go ahead, Mitla. You can unmute.
Sorry. Again, that was a slip. Okay, I was trying to give a clap for all the amazing work done
Oh,
by
okay,
you
okay.
two guys. Okay, thank
No
you so
issues.
much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for the participations. Thanks, Amrita. And with this, we can close up this session. Thank you, both of you. Hope you all enjoyed the session. Thank you.